The following content contains discussions of real criminal cases that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. All criminal cases discussed are matters of public record. While we strive for accuracy, some details may have been simplified for clarity. Names of victims and their families have been included only where previously made public through official channels or media coverage. The purpose of this content is not to glorify criminal acts, but to educate and promote awareness. Any opinions expressed are personal interpretations of publicly available information. This channel does not claim to represent any official stance of law enforcement agencies, legal entities, or families involved. Some reenactments or visualizations may be used to illustrate events. These are dramatic interpretations and should not be considered exact representations of actual events. For active cases, this coverage is based on current publicly available information and may not reflect recent developments. For resources related to crime prevention, victim support or counseling services, please see the links provided in the video description. Copyright 2025. Scrub crimes, all rights reserved. In a quiet town outside Manchester, elderly residents were dying at an alarming rate. Their families grieved, never suspecting that the trusted local doctor who signed their death certificates was actually their killer. This is the story of Harold Shipman, the most prolific serial killer in modern British history.
He was such a caring doctor, always willing to make house calls. We all trusted him completely.
What we uncovered would shock the nation and forever change how we view medical professionals.
Harold Frederick Shipman began his medical career with promise. Born in Nottingham in 1946, he was inspired to become a doctor after watching his mother's brave battle with lung cancer. By 1974, he had established himself as a respected general practitioner in Hyde, Greater Manchester.
Fred, as we called him, was incredibly hard-working. His patients adored him, especially the elderly. He seemed to have a special way with them.
But beneath this caring facade lay a dark secret. In 1975, Shipman was caught forging prescriptions for pethidine, an opioid he had become addicted to. Despite this early warning sign, he was allowed to continue practicing after rehabilitation. By the mid-1990s, local funeral directors began noticing something unusual. An extraordinarily high number of Shipman's elderly patients were dying. Most were found seated in chairs in their homes, fully dressed.
We started keeping a separate book just for Shipman's patients. The numbers were unprecedented, but who were we to question a doctor?
The death rate among Shipman's elderly patients was 10 times higher than those of other local doctors. Yet somehow, this dramatic difference went unnoticed for years.
The first person to raise serious concerns was Angela Woodruff, the daughter of Kathleen Grundy, one of Shipman's patients who died in June 1998.
When I discovered my mother had supposedly left her entire estate to Dr. Shipman in a new will, I knew something was terribly wrong. My mother would never have done that.
Mrs. Woodruff's suspicions led us to exhume her mother's body. What we found was shocking, lethal levels of diamorphine, commonly known as heroin. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered a horrifying pattern. Shipman had been killing patients with lethal injections of diamorphine, falsifying medical records, and forging death certificates. He often called for the bodies to be cremated, destroying evidence of his crimes.
He would log false medical histories, claiming his victims had health conditions they never actually suffered from. The level of deception was astounding.
In January 2000, Harold Shipman was found guilty of 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery, but these were just the tip of the iceberg.
Harold Frederick Shipman, you have been found guilty of murdering 15 patients in your care. The only sentence permitted by law is life imprisonment.
Subsequent investigations would reveal the true scale of Shipman's crimes. The Shipman inquiry concluded he had killed at least 250 patients over 23 years, though some estimates suggest the number could be higher. On January 13, 2004, Shipman was found dead in his cell at Wakefield Prison, having hanged himself. He never showed remorse for his crimes, never explained his motives, and took his secrets to the grave.
The Shipman case led to fundamental changes in how we monitor healthcare professionals, handle controlled drugs, and process death certificates. But perhaps its greatest legacy is the reminder that trust must always be balanced with oversight.
Harold Shipman betrayed the most fundamental principle of medicine. First, do no harm. His actions forever changed the doctor-patient relationship in Britain and left a lasting impact on how we think about trust in the medical profession. The victims' families continue to seek answers, but some questions may never be answered.